Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here, and welcome to another episode of what's this called? Keep it simple, Shady. Um, and today we're going to be talking about or I'm going to be talking about the fear of failure. This is something you probably heard me talk about a lot on my channel or on Picardo or just anywhere and talking in general. And it might get a bit personal. I wasn't sure if I wanted to have these podcast things. I keep calling them podcasts. They're more like vlogs. I'm not sure if I wanted these to get personal or whatnot, but this one probably is going to get a little bit personal. And the fear of failure, I think I first mentioned it back when I reviewed Monsters University as Random Person. And the reason that I put so much emphasis on it is because it is something I deal with personally. Notice I didn't say past tense, like dealt with. It's something I deal with personally, fear of failing, but it wasn't always like that. When I was young, and I'm still technically young now, but when I was in grade school, I was really smart and I was really tall, so I didn't really know what failing was. To me, in my mind, if you failed at something, it was because you didn't try hard enough. And that was the mentality I had. Because I was so smart in school, all I had to do was try. And with athletic stuff, even though I wasn't the best athlete, I had a body that an athlete would want because I was so freaking tall. To give you an idea, I was 5'3" when I was in the fourth grade. That's how tall I was, and right now I'm 6'7". Last I measured, I haven't measured myself in a while. But anyway, in grade school, I really did not have to try when it came to anything, and the fear of failing kind of appeared once I started getting into adulthood kind of stuff. And not even adulthood, just when I started getting into college stuff. The first signs of it came around when I started applying to scholarships for college, and what people would tell me is apply to scholarships. There's so many scholarships that people just aren't getting money because nobody's applying. And I went and I applied to so many scholarships, and not a single one of them responded to me, other than the government issued one because the government had no choice. But the optional ones, not one of them responded to me. And I talked to people about it. I'm like, well, what do I do? And they're like, the people who were telling me just apply, they were like, I don't know. You applied to a bunch of things. And that was the first time I felt rejected for simply for trying. And it was very weird because as I said, I always felt that as long as I tried, I could succeed. Um, but that's not where it ended. The next step was once I was out of high school. Even though I was going into college, I wanted a job to kind of help me get into the work ethic kind of thing. And I've been told that I have a really good work ethic. And I apply to jobs, and I live in an area where jobs are abundant. Like they are everywhere. It is not hard to get a job. People quit their jobs all the time because they know they can find an easy one, but people would not hire me for reasons I did not understand. Like I wasn't looking for professional jobs. I was just looking for something a high schooler could do. I was fresh out of high school, had good work ethic. I just wanted a job, but no one would hire me. And it took me, I'm gonna say, to like my junior year of college to get a job. And it really frustrated me that something I couldn't control stop me from succeeding, and it began to feel like I was wasting my time. And you might have noticed I said that in my review of what's that episode called, Flutter Brother or something, the one with Fluttershy's brother, where I said it starts to feel like you're wasting your time. That's when I started to feel like when I was applying for the scholarships and when I was looking for a job, I was wasting my time. Why should I put all my all into something if somebody who doesn't care is just going to look at it and say, nah, I don't want them. No. And when I actually did get my job, I've told this story before. I worked for an ice cream parlor. I did so well, like 2 weeks in, and they were asking me to be manager. And so I was like, this is not me, is it? I was really confused. But where it really the nail on the head. When I really started to become afraid of failing was when I was in college, because I would work so hard on something, just so hard, and I wouldn't get it. I would fail at something, and then I would try a different tactic, or I wouldn't. I would try a different tactic that I didn't want to do, but somebody, like, I don't know, said something or whatever. It's a tactic that I didn't believe would fit me, and it turns out that it did. And basically, I tried so hard with the first. I'm saying the first tactic. I of all this stuff, I would try like 5 different tactics. Here's an example. In one of my classes in college, I was not doing so well on the test because I have test anxiety and self-diagnosed, so it's legit. And so I decided, well, I'm just not studying hard enough. So I studied that subject for an hour every day to make sure that I knew what I was doing. And while I was studying, I knew exactly what I was doing. But because of the test anxiety, once the test came around, I still didn't succeed like I wanted to. And so that began to that all that stuff accumulated, and it began to cripple me mentally. When I make these videos about the fear of failures, it's mainly for myself, because this fear is something I deal with on a daily basis. If I'm not 100% sure, not even 100, if I'm not sure I can do something, I don't want to give my all, because when I put myself into a project, I will give my all, and it will be exhausting. And to get nothing out of it is terrifying. It's terrifying to think that I'm going to spend an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year working on something, and it's not going to give back. You only have the one life to live, as far as we know. And it's very scary to think that you're applying the time in your life to something that's irrelevant. This is why Monsters University hit me in a very interesting way, because even though I admit that Monsters University was a bad prequel, I still consider it a really, really, really good movie, standalone movie, for many reasons. But it told me that failing is not a waste of time. Even when you don't accomplish what you're trying to do, you've accomplished something. Whereas a movie like Meet the Robinsons, yeah, it talks about failing and how you can learn from your failures, but that still didn't hit me in the right way. Whereas Monsters University, if you remember that movie, here comes a couple of spoilers for Monsters University. If you remember that movie, Mike Wazowski, he tried so hard to get his goal, and it just wasn't in him. Like, it was something he could not control. It just wasn't in him. And despite he failed in the worst possible way because he took the biggest possible risk. That's what happens when you take a risk. You have a chance of succeeding in the best possible way or failing in the worst possible way. And he did fail in the worst possible way. But despite that, the message at the end, he was saying, I can't force myself to be something I'm not supposed to. I'm just okay. I'm okay with being okay. And Sully said, you think you're just okay? I love that Mike Wazowski was glad to be what he was. And I also love that the movie established that wasn't just okay. Nobody is just okay. Everybody is good at something, even if that something is trying again, working hard, etc. And that's what Mike didn't realize. Because Mike didn't accomplish his goal, he didn't realize all the other stuff he accomplished. He didn't realize all the other stuff he could get out of it. And it opens my eyes, because failing, I say this all the time, a problem is just a misunderstood opportunity. And people have told me, don't say the word fail because you're not really failing. There's the famous Thomas Edison quote, I didn't fail, I found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb, or something like that. And it's great to me that to not see failing as failing. And that's what I think Monsters University kind of heavily talked about, was not seeing failing as failing. Now, I say this, but like I said, I still deal with this fear. I still deal with putting my all into everything and feel like I'm wasting my time. And right now it's to the point where it is scary to think. It's scary to think about failing, but it's also scary to think about what this fear is stopping me from doing. Because you don't become great by being scared. That's just not, as far as I know, it's not how it works. Maybe somebody out there can prove me wrong. But the people who become great do so because they're willing to take risks. And like I said, taking risks means you either succeed in the best way possible, in the biggest way possible, or you fail in the biggest way possible. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, the bigger the downfall. And my brain got stuck there for a minute. I guess basically what I want the message is that fear of failing is something that's very personal to me. I will continue to talk about it. You'll probably see more videos from me personally about it. If you share this fear, like I understand, and I didn't start with being afraid of failing. I started with the mentality that I can do anything as long as I try, and that's not necessarily true. You can do anything. As I say all the time, I believe you can do anything. That doesn't mean you should do anything, or that might mean you spend an unnecessarily large amount of time doing something. And so, because all these media out there is telling us, don't be afraid, try. Don't be afraid, try. I just want to put a message out there that it is true that if you let the fear of failure stop you, you are crippling yourself. But at the same time, I greatly understand that because you don't want to waste your time, especially if you're like me, where you tried multiple times to do something and constantly it did not work out for you. And the human brain has the ability to recognize patterns. It's what we do. And if you try, fail, eventually your brain's going to say, hey, if you try, you're going to fail. That's not true, but that's how your brain works. It's not you being stupid. It's not you being crazy. It's just how your brain works. So I just want to encourage anybody who shares mentality like I do, that I understand. I understand failing, wasting your time, all that stuff. It's scary. Do your best to push past it. Like I will, and you can, I don't know. Okay. I don't know how I want to end this, but yeah. I hope this video has been helpful to somebody. If so, okay. You know what? I'm done. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.